Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, the Fellow KGB. You can follow me on Twitter at the Fellow KGB, and it is Friday evening, 6 o'clock Central Time. We're going to be going over all of my start-sit charts. We're probably just going to be looking at the noon games in tonight's episode, and then I think just because I missed Thanksgiving show, I just had a busy schedule going on, so I'm going to push that back probably to tomorrow night. So we'll have a show tonight. We'll have another show tomorrow night, finishing up the 3 o'clock games, and then probably looking at the Monday night, Sunday night, and then I guess the Tuesday night game. So we'll get into that stuff later, but for now, we're going to hop into a screen share, and we're going to go over the start-sit charts. We'll look at all the practice reports and just a bunch of information coming in before we get to these games on Sunday. So we're going to use the fantasyfellowship.com. You guys can check that out there. And then we'll just scroll down a little bit here. We had 2 Thanksgiving games yesterday, and we're going to start here with the noon games. We got the Las Vegas Raiders going to the Atlanta Falcons in this one. So let's first open it up with the practice reports here. We're going to look at the Las Vegas side. I think they're actually pretty healthy. Thought they had a decent list here. So nobody's been ruled out in this one. Looks like Aguilar, full practice. A couple guys questionable here on defense. Got Alec Ingold, the fullback, limited. Josh Jacobs, he looks like he's limited, but he should be fine. Jalen Richard looks like he's going to make his return. He was limited Wednesday, Thursday, and then a full practice today, so that's good to see. So overall, pretty healthy for the Raiders side. And then in Atlanta, we did get the news that Todd Gurley has been ruled out, so we're going to be interested in Brian Hill in this one. And I guess other guys questionable. You got Hayden Hurst. He did not practice Wednesday or Thursday, but he gets a limited in today, so he's got a shot to play. So we're holding out hope for him. We're going to have to just check our lineups before probably around like 10:30, 11 o'clock on Sunday. They should let us know that he's going to play or not. Julio Jones practicing on Wednesday and Thursday and then not practicing on Friday. So that's not a good sign here. We'll see if he's going to be going again. So again, about 10:30, 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, we'll have to double check and see what's up with Julio, what's up with Hayden Hurst. Looks like Calvin Ridley doesn't have any concerns here. He was limited all week. So I guess the rest of the offense looks fairly healthy here. Backup running back Quadri Allison looks like he's going to go, or he's probably not going to play with the did not practice all week. So it's going to be Brian Hill and Ito Smith basically taking over the workload here. So let's just take a look here. I have the fantasy points allowed here, and we got a few green matchups to take advantage of. We've been hitting on this all year. Atlanta is one of the worst defenses in the league. Dead last against quarterbacks. They allow 25.4 points. And then for the receivers, they rank 31st. Only Seattle is worse. So 43.4 PPR points allowed to the receivers. And then they're dead last against tight ends. So 16.7. So we're going to, of course, love Darren Waller in this one. I think Derek Carr is worth a streamer as a quarterback one in one quarterback leagues. For sure, fire him up in Superflex leagues. And then for some reason, they're actually pretty solid against the running backs. I think it's just because they're a funnel defense. Teams have been taking advantage of them through the air. So I still like Josh Jacobs in this one. So we got Carr, quarterback 1, Josh Jacobs, running back 1, Darren Waller. This is going to be a good spot for him. And then I do think Nelson Aguilar, just because this team allows a lot of wide receiver points, Nelson Aguilar would be the one guy that I feel comfortable with as a wide receiver 3 flex. I'm not sure we can trust Henry Ruggs. Devontae Booker continues to look good as basically the handcuff for Josh Jacobs. So if you do have Josh Jacobs, I would recommend adding Devontae Booker, because we know, I mean, from what we've seen, Devontae Booker has looked good in limited touches. If anything happens to Josh Jacobs, we're going to be talking about Booker on the waiver wire. So for me, in any league that I have Jacobs, I have already added Devontae Booker just to be safe now that we're getting to the final fantasy playoff run here. And then we'll monitor Hunter Renfrow. He might have a good game as well here, but I'm not going to recommend him. So just Nelson Aguilar on the receiver side for the Raiders. Looking at Atlanta's matchup here, we do see the Raiders are pretty generous against the quarterbacks, 19.4. So we like Matt Ryan for sure. They do allow a lot of running back points here. So 28.4 PPR points. That's going to make, I should probably spell Brian Hill right. So Brian Hill, he's going to be a running back 2 flex option for us. He's going to be the lead back. He should get the most touches. We should probably see Ito Smith get some bump up in snaps too, but he's more of a desperation PPR flex kind of play. So I think we're going to recommend Brian Hill as a running back 2 flex. Again, the Raiders pretty bad against the running backs here. They're kind of average here against the receivers, 38.5. So we're starting Calvin Ridley, no doubt. But then it's Julio Jones. If Julio Jones plays, I think I'm going to try to get him in my lineup. It's a pretty decent matchup against the Raiders. and we'll see if he's going to be active on Sunday morning. And then again, I'll probably have to put a question mark next to Hayden Hurst here. If he goes, I think I can play Hayden Hurst. The Raiders are kind of stingy against the tight end, but if you can get 10, 12 points out of Hurst, I think that's worth a spot there. And then Russell Gage, just because we know Julio Jones is banged up, he's probably going to be on the field quite a bit. I think he had 12 targets last week. So I do like Russell Gage as a wide receiver 3 flex option. I think he can help us this weekend. Not using the Falcons defense at all. Maybe the Raiders, but I don't really recommend it. And then we're just going to monitor Olamide Zaccheaus and Christian Blake, because if Julio Jones is out, these would be the next guys up here. And then I do have to write Todd Gurley out there. So interesting game. We'll see if the Raiders can get back on the win column here, and we'll see what Atlanta looks like without Todd Gurley, who's been, I think, a fringe running back 1 all year. So we'll see what Brian Hill and Ito Smith can do in relief. Moving on here to the Chargers and the Bills. Let's open up the practice reports here. So we're looking at Buffalo right now. Pretty small injury report here, but John Brown already been ruled out. Cody Ford, offensive guard, has been ruled out as well. So that's going to hurt the offense just a little bit. Nobody else really stuck out for me on this injury report. We do see some full practices here for some guys, so that's really good to see. Dawson Knox is finally practicing in full. But yeah, John Brown and offensive guard here, Cody Ford, is going to be out. And then looking at the Chargers side, let's take a look here. Nice small report here. So Casey Hayward has been ruled out. You're going to like that for Stephon Diggs for sure. It looks like Melvin Ingram's been put on IR, so that's a big ding for the defense. And then they got another defensive end here who's been ruled out. So the defense is hurting here. That's 3, for sure, 2 starters. I'm not sure if Nwasu is a role player here. But 3 guys on defense going to be out here. It looks like Brian Bulaga is going to play. He got full practice in today. And Kalen Ballage, questionable with the ankle injury. I think we're going to see Austin Eckler. All the reports were pretty strong for Austin Eckler. So if Kalen Ballage can't go, we're going to have to look and see what the other running backs look like. But I think if you do have Austin Eckler, he's going to be a RB2 flex consideration. And we'll see what Kalen Ballage is, his status is before the game. So looking at the start-sit charts, we got a couple guys here. We got a lot of guys in fantasy that we're going to be interested in. So let's first look at the fantasy points allowed to the positions. Got a lot of green matchups here. This is going to be a lot of fun. I think this game is probably one of my favorite noon games of the slate. Both teams allowing almost 20 points to the quarterbacks here. So you like Allen, you like Herbert for sure. Those guys are in our lineups. And then for the running backs, the Chargers do allow 25.1. That ranks 21st. And the Bills are 23.6. So I think both teams can be had with the running back situations there. And then both teams are pretty solid against the pass, but we do know Casey Hayward's going to be out, so I don't expect this number to stick for the Chargers. They're probably going to be a little bit worse next week when we look at this. And then you got the Bills here, 33.6, 32.3. I think it's a pretty safe matchup here for Keenan Allen. We'll be nervous about Mike Williams in this one. But again, no Casey Hayward. We're going to like Stephon Diggs. No John Brown in this one, so we're interested in Cole Beasley and maybe Gabe Davis. And then both teams are pretty bad against the tight end here. The Chargers 14.5 points allowed, and the Bills 15.9. That's second worst. So how do we navigate this start-sit chart? Just want to say happy Thanksgiving to our guy Fabian, man. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you're doing well. But we're looking at the Chargers and the Bills here. So we both, Herbert and Allen. And then with Keenan Allen getting as many targets as he's getting, he's probably going to, Tre'Davious White's a really good corner, but I would imagine we're going to see Mike Williams on the outside matched up with him, which leaves Keenan Allen to keep doing what he's doing. So we love him as a wide receiver 1. And we mentioned Casey Hayward's not in this one, so Stephon Diggs should have a pretty nice game. And then because John Brown's out, and this team the Chargers can, get a good pass rush going. I know Melvin Ingram's out as well, but Cole Beasley, with John Brown out, I kind of like Cole Beasley as a wide receiver 3 flex, especially in PPR leagues. He's kind of the struggle target for Josh Allen. So when things aren't going, or if it's a tougher matchup, I do like Cole Beasley in this one. And then with John Brown being out, Gabe Davis, I have him listed here as a flex just because in the games where John Brown's been out, he's on the field a ton. Noted they're down Casey Hayward, so we could see a lot of opportunities for Gabe Davis, who scored a few touchdowns already this season. And then I got Zach Moss here because we did note that the Chargers do give up a significant amount of running back points. And I believe Zach Moss at this point, it's kind of his backfield. It's probably like a 55, 60 to 40 split towards Zach Moss. We'll see if they get the rookie rolling here as we're entering December. And then I do have Devin Singletary here with a question mark. I don't like getting Singletary in my lineup, but I suppose he can be used as a really low-end RB2 flex. But for me, I'd rather play Zach Moss for sure. And then I guess the rest of the Chargers that we like here, you're going to continue starting Hunter Henry. Again, we noted Buffalo's really bad here against the tight end, almost 16 PPR points per game. Mike Williams, I have him listed as a flex, but I'm a little bit nervous. He's got a huge range of outcomes. He could end up beating Tre'Davious White for a play or two, but I'm leaning towards him. Eckler. For sure, if they come out and say Eckler's going to play, I'm going to try to get him in my lineup as a running back 2 flex. And then we do have to monitor Kalen Ballage. If Kalen Ballage can't go, I'm going to like Eckler a little bit more. And then I guess as far as backup duties, we'll probably see Josh Kelly be the RB2 there, but we're probably not going to start him. So just leave these guys on the bench. Consider I'm probably not using either defense in this one. I think this could be a high-scoring game. I'll be watching the tight end spots here, Dawson Knox and Tyler Kroft, and that's pretty much it for the Chargers and Bills. It should be a really fun game here. I think both quarterbacks should have some strong, top 5, top 10 quarterback weeks for us. Looks like we got a question real quick from Fabian. So Teddy or Cam for weeks 12 through 13, and should I start Rivers in my other league? So Teddy Bridgewater going up against the Vikings this weekend, and I know that the Panthers are on bye next week, so you don't get a week 13 from Teddy. So as far as if you're looking for one guy for the next 2 weeks, it's probably got to be Cam Newton. I know they play the Cardinals this week. I don't know who the Patriots play the following week, though. Let's just look that up real quick. So the Patriots schedule. So they're going to play the Chargers next weekend. I'd probably lean into Cam Newton for the next. If you need a quarterback for the next 2 weeks, I probably would go with Cam Newton there. And then should we start Philip Rivers in our other league? I just want to see how far down this game is for the Colts. So we'll be talking about the Colts in a little bit here, but I do have Rivers ranked as a quarterback too. He's been playing really good in the Titans defense right now. Everything lights up green, man. Everything's lighting up green. They allow this is a 4-point passing touchdown number, so 19.5 points. I wouldn't be surprised to see Philip Rivers get 2 touchdowns and have a really nice game. So I do like Philip Rivers. It would depend on some of your other options. I think I would probably, if Derek Carr was available, I might look for Derek Carr, but I do like Rivers. We did see these 2 teams play on Thursday night a couple weekends ago. So there is, recent success for Philip Rivers against the Titans. So I think that's a pretty good spot for him this week. And we'll kind of get back up to here. So we just kind of, we just finished the Chargers and the Bills. If you guys have any more questions on that one, we can hit that when you do. But for now, we're going to move on to the Giants and the Bengals. And I think I'm going to be pretty quick about this one. I do not feel good about starting any Bengals this weekend. If there was one guy, maybe it's Tyler Boyd. But I guess before we get into some of the advice here, I'm going to look at the practice reports for the Giants, and then we'll get to the Bengals here. But pretty nice, solid report here. Really short list for the Giants. Looks like James Bradbury did not practice Wednesday, Thursday, but he got a full in on Friday, so he's good to go. Sterling Shepard limited all week. That's kind of just how he's been, the last few games since he's been back, so no problems there. He should be good to go. Looks like offensive guard here, Kevin Zeitler is going to be full. Really nice report here for the Giants coming off a bye. And then looking at the Bengals here, they already have Mike Thomas, the 4th, 5th receiver here listed as doubtful. So we'll probably see a little bit more Auden Tate in the 4th receiver role there. Looks like Giovanni Bernard got a full day of practice in today, so that's a really good sign. He's probably leaning towards playing, so he can. If you really need the help at running back too, I suppose you can play Giovanni Bernard. I'm probably only playing him in a PPR league. I don't know if I feel great about it. The Giants are pretty decent. But the rest of the report here looks pretty good. But let's just take a look at the fantasy points allowed here. So the Giants defense, this is probably, if you had to spot start one defense off the waiver wire this weekend, I think the Giants would be available. And this is the team that I've been kind of rolling out for a lot of people. And I just think Brandon Allen, this team's kind of banged up. We'll see what the Bengals have for a spirit, I guess, left the rest of the way here now that they're down Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon. It's going to be we have a lot to learn from the Bengals and who this team is going to be the rest of the season. So I do like the Giants defense in this one with all the injuries right now for Cincinnati. The only spot that the Giants do allow some points is the running back points, 26.1 PPR points. So maybe because I did have Samaje Perine up here, I'm probably going to move Giovanni Bernard up to here as a flex. He could be used in PPR leagues. And then on the Bengals side, everything lights up green. They're decent against the running backs here, but if you had to play a running back here, I do like Wayne Gallman. I would rather have Wayne Gallman than Giovanni Bernard. Wayne Gallman over probably a lot of the guys that would have been available on the waiver wire this week. So just because we expect the Giants to be able to control this game, and they're not really going to take a lot of chances, I think they're going to run the ball with Wayne Gallman, who before the bye week has scored 5 touchdowns in 4 games. So Wayne Gallman becomes a really safe RB2 for me. And then just looking at the rest of this, I mean, they're green against the quarterback, against the wide receiver, against the tight end. So, of course, you're going to be starting Sterling Shepard. I think, is the wide receiver 3 flex. He's been over double digits in every game that he's been back since his turf toe. And then you got Evan Ingram here. Really good matchup here. You see the Bengals allowing 15.1 PPR points. So I like that. And then we got Darius Slayton. I think if you need the help here, I could easily see Darius Slayton making a big play and making our day for us with a touchdown. And then Daniel Jones. I think I probably would have Daniel Jones listed as a quarterback 1. I think he's a pretty good play this weekend. But for sure, fire him up in quarterback 2 leagues. And then I guess Golden Tate, Deion Lewis, Alfred Morris. Not really interested in that. And I'm probably going to upgrade this to a yes for the Giants defense here. And then Brandon Allen, emergency quarterback 2 superflex leagues. Not really thinking about him there. Tyler Boyd could be okay in a PPR format. He should be able to he should be the leading target for sure. And then T. Higgins, I'm kind of nervous about T. Higgins. I would probably play a guy like Russell Shepard or Russell Gage over T. Higgins, something like that. So if you have a better option, I would play someone over T. Higgins. And then this is going to be Giovanni Bernard here. Not really interested in anybody else on this lineup. So looks like we got a question here from Fabian one more time about the Philip Rivers situation. So now that we're looking at the Titans Colts, let's quick open up the practice reports and we'll look at Indianapolis here. So Philip Rivers, where's our guy here? So he was not practicing Wednesday, not practicing Thursday, but he gets the limited in today. So that's exactly what you wanted to see. Friday is the most important day for practice reports, and the fact that he was able to get in on the field and get some limited time in there, I think he should be good to go. I mean, we know with Philip Rivers that he's never going to be a guy that scrambles, or he should be fine with the toe injury if he plays. If you're nervous about it, I guess there could be other running backs or other quarterbacks that I would go with, if there's some on the waiver wire that you want to look at. But I think he's going to be okay. I like the progress there from no practice Wednesday, Thursday, and then he gets limited in today. So I'm feeling okay about Philip Rivers. Looks like Zach Pascal was questionable. He got a limited in today. Jonathan Taylor, limited practice with a non-injury. Maybe they're just kind of resting him up. And then I guess the rest of the offense looks pretty good here. Only Bobby Okereke was ruled out on defense. But otherwise, we got Ryan Kelly, the center here, questionable with a neck injury. He did not practice all week. I don't like that. Looks like the guard, Quentin Nelson's going to. And then let's look at the Titans side real quick. I'm trying to remember who was injured on their side. Let's get that loaded up here. So let's see. Adam Humphries has been ruled out. He's had a concussion for a while now, so I don't really like that. Adoree Jackson continues to be out with a knee injury, and then they ruled out one of their backup tight ends, Michael Pruitt. The rest of the offense looks pretty healthy, though. I mean, A.J. Brown got a full practice in. They've been letting him kind of rest Wednesday and Thursday, so I think this is just something that they're going to continue to do. Let him chill Wednesday, Thursday, and get a full practice in Friday. Try to keep him fresh. So I think that's what they're doing there. And then the rest of the offensive report here looks pretty good. Got a lot of limited and fulls in here today, so you like that. So let's look at the fantasy points allowed here from our guys. As you can see, this is one of the more weird fantasy points allowed charts that I've seen all season. So the Colts all red and the Titans light up all green. So really tough matchup here for the Titans offense, but the Colts offense has a really good opportunity here going up against the Titans. We did see these guys earlier this year, and it looked really good for the Colts. I liked everything Philip Rivers was able to do. This was the big Naheem Hines game, but this was also the game where Michael Pittman kind of broke out and had over 100 yards. So I like that quite a bit there. So I guess now that we kind of know what to do here, I think Ryan Tannehill, he's a quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues. I do have Rivers ranked as a quarterback 2 as well. I could see Philip Rivers being a tight end 1 or quarterback 1 streamer if you needed it. I think I would prefer, if you can start Derek Carr or Daniel Jones or somebody else off the waiver like that, I think I would, just because we know there's a small, toe injury for Philip Rivers. The running backs here, you're going to continue to start Derrick Henry. You're going to start A.J. Brown. He dropped a touchdown against the Colts in this one. I think he's going to try to redeem himself there. Corey Davis did have a good game back on that Thursday Night Football, so I think he's a wide receiver 3 flex for me. And then Jonnu Smith, even though the Colts are pretty good against the tight end, they allow 9.5 points. Jonnu did score a touchdown against the Colts last time, so if you don't have a better option, I would continue going with Jonnu Smith. Looks like we got a question real quick here from Harris YT. Dallas Goedert or Rob Gronkowski? I think I'm going with Goddard. Just because, he looked really good last weekend. He played, I think, on 100% of the snaps. I know Zach Ertz might be playing in this one, but Ertz probably is going to be on a snap count, I would imagine, his first game back. And just, I mean, what Dallas Park did last weekend, I think that's hard for me to ignore. Rob Gronkowski hasn't really done much for us lately, so I think because they play the Chiefs, Goddard plays against the Seahawks. I think I'm going to lean in towards the Seahawks matchup and continue to roll with Goddard, who should see a steady amount of targets. And I mean, he's really reliable for Carson Wentz, so I like Goddard in that one. We got a question real quick from Fabian. Pick 2 to start. Russell Wilson, Philip Rivers, Tom Brady, and Cam Newton. So I think you're going to start Russell Wilson for sure. That's the name that sticks out the most. Rivers does have a really good matchup against Tennessee, but because of the toe injury, maybe they end up just running the ball a lot. So I'm Rivers is kind of on the fence for me as a fringe quarterback 1-2, and then with Tom Brady, man, he just struggled last week. It makes me a little bit nervous now that we're playing the Chiefs, who are, I think they rank like 4th or 5th against the quarterback in fantasy points. So I think I might prefer. I mean, it's Wilson for sure. And then I kind of like Cam Newton going up against Arizona. I just think that's a good spot for him to get a rushing touchdown or two. And now that they got Damiere Byrd, they also got Jacoby Myers, James White. There should be a good amount of throwing potential for Cam Newton in that one too, plus whatever he does with his leg. So I think I like Wilson for sure. And then I'm probably just going to go with Cam Newton because the other two I can make. There's a huge range of outcomes for those guys. So I think that's what I would do. But I guess talking about the Colts again here. Again, everything lights up green. The Titans defense is not good, guys. We know Philip Rivers is dinged up with the toe injury. That could lead to a lot of running for Jonathan Taylor. I like him as a running back too. And then because Nyheim Hines had his career game against the Titans a couple of weeks ago, I think you got to get Nyheim Hines in there as a running back 2 flex. And then we also saw Michael Pittman Jr. have a career game, over 100 yards receiving. He's kind of the hot hand right now. I would continue starting him as a wide receiver 3 flex. I'm pretty sure T.Y. Hilton had like a 9 or 10 point day in PPR league. So if you needed someone as a wide receiver 3 flex, it could be T.Y. Hilton. I'm not excited to get him in there, but I guess if you need the help, it could be a useful spot there. But yeah, Philip Rivers, I feel best about him as a quarterback 2 in super flex leagues. But again, if you had to whip him out there as a quarterback 1, I don't think I mind it. Again, everything's lighting up green here for the Titans defense. I think it's a good matchup for Philip. Probably continue starting the Colts defense. No on the Titans defense for sure. And then everything, I mean, the tight ends, I can't really recommend one tight end because they're just all used pretty much the same, and it's kind of but that's pretty much it. This is going to be a good game. Both teams, still in position here. I think they're both 7-3. The winner of this one will be in charge of the AFC South. So this one should be a lot of fun. I'm curious to see how the Titans rebound from their really bad loss to the Colts earlier this year. But a lot to watch there, especially Jonathan Taylor owners, because he finally put a good game together last week. We'll see if they continue to feed him and get him going. Moving on to the Panthers and the Vikings. Looks like we got a question real quick here. From Harris YT, and then I'll get to Fabian's question next. Do I play Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, or Justin Herbert if I have DeAndre Hopkins in my lineup? I think I like Justin Herbert in this one. Just because, there's a little bit of concern with the AC shoulder sprain for Kyler Murray. You already have DeAndre Hopkins in the lineup, so you're going to get whatever Kyler Murray would throw. It's probably going to go to DeAndre Hopkins, and we know Larry Fitzgerald out as well. So I think I would just be fine with keeping Hopkins in there and then probably rolling with Justin Herbert. I think the Buffalo Charger game could get pretty high scoring there. I think the Buffalo offense is going to move the ball really well against the Chargers defense, which will make the Chargers have to continue to throw. And Justin Herbert's hot, man. He's a top 5 quarterback right now, so I feel really good about Justin Herbert in this question. We got a question here from Fabian. He said to start Harris, right, instead of Henderson and Hines. So I'm assuming that's Damian Harris. I'm not really interested in the Rams backfield at all, just because everything's like a 33%, split. It's a 3-headed monster there, so we can rule Henderson out. With Damian Harris, I don't know if Sony Michel has been called up or if he's going to be active. If Sony Michel's out, I do like Damian Harris going up against the Cardinals. But Nyheim Hines, man, that feels pretty safe there. I think just because with Nyheim Hines, what he did against the Colts last time or against the Titans last time, I think it makes sense to go with Nyheim Hines. So I would rank them Hines, Harris, and Henderson for sure. What's going on, Z-Man? Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. Brian Hill is an RB2, man. It looks good, though. The Raiders are one of the worst teams against the running back. I think they rank 28th in total PPR points to the position. So Brian Hill, it should be, as long as he catches, 3-4 passes to get that PPR floor, I think we're in good shape with Brian Hill. I already talked about the Raiders and the Falcons game, but I listed him as a running back too. So I think good things can happen there. And then, no Casey Hayward or Melvin Ingram. So I think Buffalo is going to be in a really good spot. Stephon Diggs is going to have, a top 5, potential day. And then you're also looking at Cole Beasley, I think, with a wide receiver 3 option in PPR leagues. And then the sleeper to watch is going to be Gabe Davis to see if he can make a big play or two. But a lot of things going good for Buffalo, I think, right now. They're also coming off a bye week too. So it could be a really good day for Buffalo. And that's a noon game too. And the Chargers, West Coast team, going to play a noon game against Buffalo, a team that's been waiting on bye. I think it could be a really good game for Buffalo. What's going on, Patrick? Thanks for hanging out. So if we play Justin Herbert, should we play Keenan Allen instead of DeAndre Hopkins? If that's what you can do, I think I like that stack better than what's going on with the shoulder injury for Kyler Murray. So I would continue. I mean, Keenan Allen's been a stud, and he should not. He's going to probably stay in the slot. I think Tre'Davious White's going to get matched up with Mike Williams, which is just going to further feed Keenan Allen some targets. So I do like the Herbert Allen stack better than I like the Murray DeAndre Hopkins stack. And then I think also with DeAndre Hopkins this weekend, he should see a lot of Stephon Gilmore, which should make us a little bit nervous. So he's going up against Gilmore, and then you consider the small shoulder injury going on for Kyler right now. I think it's safer to roll with your Charger stack there. So thanks for the question, guys. Getting a lot of good stuff in today. Let's look at the Panthers and the Vikings. We're going to just check out the practice reports here. I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to play. Let's see here. He practiced in full all week. We know he almost played last weekend, so it's looking like the Panthers offense will be at full strength with their quarterback here. They did rule out an offensive guard. Looks like a cornerback Dante Jackson is going to be doubtful. But otherwise, the rest of the fantasy players, I mean, DJ Moore, I don't know what his issue was, but he practiced in full all week. Christian McCaffrey, we still don't know what's going on with him, assuming because they have the bye next week, we're going to assume McCaffrey's not going to play. So Mike Davis will continue to get our running back too, play in PPR leagues for sure. But the rest of this looks decent. We'll kind of monitor. Let's see. Yeah, just Christian McCaffrey. I know he practiced a little bit, but I don't think he's going to play. We'll just have to monitor that when we get there. And then on the Minnesota side, I did see that Irv Smith is going to be doubtful in this one. So limited on Wednesday, did not practice Thursday, and nothing today. So we're probably not going to see Irv Smith in this one. They did already rule out offensive guard Ezra Cleveland, and then they got another backup defensive end out as well. But basically, it's just Irv Smith here that we have to worry about. So maybe Kyle Rudolph becomes an interesting tight end streamer. That's kind of more of a dirty desperation play. But let's just take a look at the fantasy points allowed here. So we got a few green matchups to take advantage of. The reason I did bring up Kyle Rudolph is because of the Panthers. They light up green against tight ends about 13.6 points. Maybe if you need the help, Kyle Rudolph could find himself a touchdown and probably 3 catches for 30 yards or something. The Vikings are decent against the tight end. They're middle of the road here, but the Panthers just don't have a tight end for us to consider. I wished Ian Thomas was playing better, but for some reason they're kind of using Ian Thomas and Chris Manhertz as a tandem there. So against the quarterback, though, the Panthers allowing 18.2, the Vikings 18.9 of the quarterback. So I do like Teddy Bridgewater as a quarterback too in Superflex leagues. And then I guess you can continue to use Kirk Cousins as a quarterback too. That's the only thing I would use him for. You're starting Dalvin Cook, no problem. And then again, Mike Davis, as long as McCaffrey's out, we're going to roll out Mike Davis with the RB2 expectation. And then Adam Thielen, he went on the COVID-19 list earlier this week. I still haven't, maybe tomorrow we'll hear some information about him if they get him activated. But if he doesn't play, I think you have to get Justin Jefferson in your lineup for sure. And even if Thielen plays, I think Justin Jefferson has earned himself basically a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 designation in our lineup. So if Thielen plays, sure, get Adam Thielen back into your lineup. And then at this point, I think Justin Jefferson's a set it and forget it kind of guy. So just make sure he's good to go. With Teddy Bridgewater back at quarterback, we do love DJ Moore. We love Robbie Anderson. These guys seem to kind of always flip-flop at wide receiver 2 or 3 for me, depending on what happened last week. But I do like DJ Moore. He's had 2 really good games in a row, just coming off of a season-high 127 yards. And then you also have Robbie Anderson, who I think He matches up a little bit better with Teddy Bridgewater than he did PJ Walker, so probably a good bounce back spot for Robbie. And then Curtis Samuel, man, it just seems like he's been getting up, 20 points in the last 4 games or 5 games or something like that. So I do like Curtis Samuel as a wide receiver 3 flex. The Vikings are one of the more generous teams against the wide receiver group, almost 43 PPR points per wide receiver, or for the wide receivers strictly. So we like the Carolina Panthers offense. Hopefully Christian McCaffrey can, if he can play, you're going to play Christian McCaffrey. But assuming they have the bye next week, assuming we're not going to see him. So with the Vikings, I mean, this is a really simple, these teams are like, we know who they're going to try to get the ball to, and it's a pretty simple fantasy evaluation there. So I like everything that we're seeing there. Looks like Irv Smith, again, he's probably going to be out. So if you need tight end help, Kyle Rudolph could be your guy. We'll move on to the Cardinals and the Patriots here. Let me just check the comments and see what we got rolling here. So is RG3 start or not? So I think he's going to be the guy. We basically would, I think they're going to hold out Lamar until, we're not going to know until Monday or Tuesday morning if he's going to play. Assuming we do not see Lamar Jackson, I think RG3 is worth the quarterback 2 spot. I don't know if I trust him in a quarterback 1 league, but if you do play in Superflex leagues, I think that's where I would feel comfortable starting him. Do we play Austin Eckler this week? If he plays instead of Derrick Henry, because he only got 12 points against the Colts the last time he played. I mean, I'm going to have a hard time benching Derrick Henry no matter what. I would love to get Austin Eckler in the lineup too, especially if Kalen Ballage doesn't play. I'm going to like Austin Eckler a lot. But I mean, I don't know how we can bench Derrick Henry. It wouldn't surprise me if he scores for a touchdown or 2. The Titans have a kind of a bad taste in their mouth right now from the last time they played the Colts. So I'm expecting the Titans, best effort in this one to overtake the AFC South. The AFC South is on the line, so I think we're going to see the best of Derrick Henry. And again, with Derrick Henry, man, like if you miss out on one of those 50 or 60-yard touchdowns, we're going to be kicking ourselves. So I think I would roll with Derrick Henry there. And we also know that Henry's just going to get the ball 20, 25 times. With Eckler, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we are definitely excited about Eckler coming back into our lineups. Oh, man. So I'm probably going to be doing my prop bet show. I have to contact my friend Jesse, and we're going to probably shoot for 10 o'clock tomorrow. But 113-yard rushing prop. Wow. I guess I didn't really talk about it, but the Panthers are one of the worst teams against the run here, 27.2 PPR points. It would not surprise me to see Dalvin Cook as the overall running back 1 again in this weekend. So I will be interested in Dalvin Cook. But plus 113, I don't know. That's steep, man. That's steep. So Patrick Sig says, we just traded Cole Beasley for Michael Thomas. What? You're receiving Michael Thomas? I'm guessing that was a good trade for the week and the rest of the season. Hell yeah, man. You just sent Cole Beasley. I mean, I like Cole Beasley. He's a pretty safe, reliable guy. He's always been kind of like an emergency. He's a good guy to have on your bench, and for bye weeks or whatever, you just plug in your 10 points. But man, you're getting Michael Thomas. I feel pretty good about that. We saw Taysom Hill just pepper him with targets, and I'm not concerned about Michael Thomas with Taysom Hill. So I think you did the correct thing there, and you got the stud Michael Thomas. Good job, man. That's a really good trade. So looking at the Arizona Cardinals and the New England Patriots, let's just take a peek at the practice reports. So Arizona, kind of a short list here. Darrell Daniels, backup tight end, has been ruled out. That's kind of whatever. Larry Fitzgerald did go on the COVID list, so we're not going to see Larry Fitzgerald in this one. I would imagine Andy Isabella is the next man up, so we'll see what he can do with a little bit more snap counts. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be full go. Looks like backup defensive end here is going to be out. Jalen Thompson, I think he's their 3rd safety. He's going to be out in this one. But overall, it's a pretty healthy practice report here. Kyler Murray was limited all week. It's the full in today. Hopefully he can just stay away from any big hits and keep that shoulder in good condition there. So let's look quick at the Patriots. This is a lengthy list. Holy crap. So, of course, they've already ruled Rex Burkhead out. I'm not sure we're going to see him again the rest of the season. Isaiah Wynn, starting offensive tackle here, he's going to be out here. And then a lot of questionable guys here. I'm just kind of curious. Looks like everybody logged a limited practice in today, so I'm not overly concerned here. I thought Julian Edelman was going to be eligible to return. I don't think we're going to see him this week, but I'm watching that for the future. But pretty much the rest of this looks pretty decent. And then I guess I don't know if they activated Sony Michel yet either. So I guess just looking at the Patriots, without Rex Burkhead, I think James White's in a really good spot for PPR leagues as a running back too. He had a really good game last weekend too. I think he caught like 6 of 9 targets or something like that. So I love James White as a running back too. I think we're going to continue using Damian Harris as a running back 2 flex. He looked really good last weekend too. I was kind of disappointed they didn't get him more touches. He had the early touchdown in the game, and then they kind of just got behind and kind of abandoned the run. That was kind of disappointing. But just looking at the fantasy points allowed here, you got a couple green matchups here to take advantage of, with the Cardinals allowing 19.3 to the quarterbacks here. So we like Cam Newton in this one. And the Cardinals, I mean, as good as Patrick Peterson is, they do allow quite a bit of points to the wide receivers. So maybe we're into Damiere Byrd. This is a revenge game for Damiere Byrd too. He's played in Carolina and Arizona in the past. And then I think Jacoby Myers has earned a spot. He had the floor game last weekend. He should be a little bit better. Cardinals pretty good against both teams are really good against the tight end, actually. So we're probably not interested in either team's tight end. And then I guess the Patriots continue to be a good quarterback, team here, and they're pretty solid against the running back. So let's just take a look at the start-sit charts. I want to answer this question real quick from Patrick Sig. So what team do I support? So I was born in Green Bay. I live in Milwaukee now, so I actually didn't start liking the Packers until Aaron Rodgers took over. When I was a kid, I was like maybe 8 or 9 years old when I got one of those plastic helmets that you could wear, and it was a Tampa Bay helmet. So I've been a Bucs fan since like 1999, the year before they won the Super Bowl, and so I'm kind of Tampa Bay and Green Bay for the most part. But with just fantasy in mind, like, I'm just a fan of good players. I mean, I can kind of morph myself and get excited about everybody. So just no Bears for me. That's pretty much the only team I will not root for. But I mean, the Vikings, Dalvin Cook's a hell of a player. Justin Jefferson's fun. I don't really discriminate, even though I am a Packer fan. So Packers and Bucks, those will be my 2 teams that I make sure to watch every week. But yeah, good question. So the start-sit charts here. Kyler Murray and Cam Newton are both quarterback 1s for me. Again, I'm a little bit nervous about this shoulder injury for Kyler Murray, but he's got the legs to keep churning out quarterback 1 numbers. So we're going to continue to roll with him. James White's going to be a running back 2 for me. DeAndre Hopkins, again, I mentioned earlier that Stephon Gilmore should be drawing DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's still got to start him no matter what, just kind of limit our expectations a little bit. I got Jacoby Myers here as a wide receiver 3 flex. You can also view Damiere Byrd as a wide receiver 3 flex. He had a really, really good game last weekend. He led the team in receiving and targets and everything. So I think Bird's starting to come on. And then, of course, Myers and Byrd, I like those guys as wide receiver 3 flexes. I feel more comfortable about Myers. And then with Damian Harris here, the Cardinals are decent against the running back, 22.4 points. But Carlos Hyde, a pretty comparable player for running styles with Damian Harris, had a really good game against this team last week. So I think Damian Harris has a pretty good matchup here. I guess the rest of the Cardinals here, you're going to continue to use Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds as low-end RB2s. Probably better flexes at this point. Christian Kirk, because no Larry Fitzgerald, I think he can be a wide receiver 3. So I'm pretty excited about Kirk's opportunity. And because we did mention that Hopkins should be on Gilmore, maybe Kirk has the leading receiving line for the Cardinals this week. Probably not going to start Isabella. Not really interested in any of the tight ends either. So I don't know. This one could be a really weird game here. The Patriots season's really kind of done, but the Cardinals need to keep winning. But I think it's in New England. It should be a really tough game. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And then we'll move on to the Jets and the Dolphins. I just want to check out the comments real quick. So we got no DJ Chark this weekend. They've already ruled him out. So no other options. We have to start Jimmy Graham. Oh, man. So assuming that's a flex spot, I'd be curious, Fabian, if you have any more, better options on the waiver wire. It's Jimmy Graham going up against the Packers, which could be, a small revenge game for him. It's going to be Mitch Trubisky back there. So it's not the worst play. I think I would probably, if I could find someone on the waiver wire that can maybe get me 8 to 10 points, like a Cole Beasley, or even Damiere Byrd at this point might have a higher ceiling, but it's not the worst playing Jimmy Graham this week. But you got Justin Herbert, man. It's going to be a fun couple of years with Justin Herbert on the rookie deal. I think they should be, pretty big players in the free agency next year. And you got Herbert with Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. We'll see if they re-sign Mike Williams. I think that could be a pretty big move, pretty good move for them with Herbert playing as well he is. But I don't know. There's a lot to like with what the Chargers are doing here. So it sounds like Chris Carson's going to play. I'll have more information on this. I'm probably going to do a show tomorrow night as well, just to kind of cover more games. But we got Seattle here. Their report, Chris Carson has been limited yesterday and today. So he's on the right track. And Pete Carroll's already been on the record saying he expects Chris Carson to play. I think just because Carlos Hyde has been playing pretty good football lately, they might kind of ease Chris Carson back in. And Seattle's thinking long term as well, too. So I could easily see them doing like a 50-50 split with Carson and Carlos Hyde. So I am excited about Chris Carson coming back, but I think we might have to limit our expectations just a little bit. But still a pretty good opportunity at getting a touchdown. You know, when they get into the red zone, they like to throw him the ball. So I do like Chris Carson, but we'll just have to monitor his usage in terms of snaps and just make sure he's not getting overused right away. So the Dolphins and the Jets, let's take a look at their practice reports real quick. Let's start with the Jets, just because, I don't know, the Jets. I think Sam Darnold's going to play in this one. Let's see here. He got full practice in yesterday and today, so Sam Darnold. This actually makes me less excited about some of the receivers. I thought Joe Flacco was actually playing pretty well, especially with Brashad Perriman. So at this point now, I'm probably not going to use Brashad Perriman. Frank Gore, he's fine here. Just looks like a veteran day rest. So Frank Gore, Sam Darnold, everyone's looking pretty good here. Only one guy ruled out for the Jets so far. That's one of the linebackers here. So pretty healthy on the Jets side of things. Let's take a look at Miami's real quick. So Salvin Ahmed is going to be out in this one. I have no clue who to recommend at running back. We're going to probably see a rotation of Malcolm Perry, Matt Breida, and DeAndre Washington. It's really messy. I really don't know if I could recommend any Jets running back confidently. So I'm probably going to continue to roll with Tua's passing game of Jakeem Grant, Devontae Parker. We'll kind of see about that. But I don't know. This game kind of feels making me a little bit nervous here. So looking at the fantasy points allowed here, the Jets, man, we want to start everyone against the Jets. It's just they're getting the Dolphins at a weird time where we don't really have anything that we can trust at the moment. And then the Dolphins defense is they're fairly even throughout the most part here, pretty solid against the tight end, but we're not using a Jets tight end. So just looking at the start-sit charts here, I mean, Sam Darnold is a fringe quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues. I think we can trust Tua in Superflex leagues, but I'm not using either of these quarterbacks in a standard 1-quarterback league. I do think Frank Gore can be a low-end RB2. He should get, a handful of catches, and he will be the leading, ball carrier. And if they get towards the red zone, they should try to find him into the end zone there. The Dolphins, not the greatest against the running backs here, almost 25 PPR points per game. So I could see Frank Gore with a double-digit game as a running back too. Jamison Crowder is probably going to be Sam Darnold's favorite target. That he's been the most successful receiver when Sam's in there. So I do like Crowder as a wide receiver 3 in PPR leagues. Brashad Perriman, man, he's been playing so good with Flacco, but this is a start at your own risk kind of pick, I guess. I'm excited about Brashad Perriman, but he could also, get you 2 for 23 or something pretty low. So he's got a huge range of outcomes. I don't think they've activated Myles Gaskin yet. I'll have to double check that. Let's go to Twitter here real quick. We got a question here from Bam Bo. How's it going, Bam? So let's pull that up. Myles, thought he wasn't going to be eligible to return until week 13. Let's see here. So they're still determining if Myles Gaskin can play yet. I haven't seen anything. Apparently he's doing well, though, from what I'm looking at right now. We'll see on Myles Gaskin. Yeah, so everyone's kind of waiting and seeing if they haven't activated him off IR yet. So tomorrow will be a big day. I think Saturday is typically the day they activate some guys here. It looks like he returned to practice with a non-contact jersey. So it might be one more week for Myles Gaskin. But if he plays, if we get Myles Gaskin back, I think you can probably whip him out as a running back too. Flex option there. So one more question here from Patrick Sig. Should we start Michael Thomas or Julio Jones? So because we're a little bit nervous about Julio Jones with what has he got? He's got the quad injury right now. And he's got Calvin Ridley to compete with targets, whereas Michael Thomas is like the clear. If Taysom Hill's dropping back to throw the ball, it's probably going to Michael Thomas. So I think I'm just going to continue rolling with Thomas. He has a high volume of targets in that offense. And I think Julio Jones, man, it would suck to miss a big game, but he's been, he's just been this injury-prone receiver so far this year that, you don't want him going out there for the first quarter again and getting us 4 points and then he's done for the day. So I think I'm just a little bit more comfortable with Michael Thomas in there for us. So looking at the Dolphins and the Jets starts at charts again. Devontae Parker, wide receiver 3 flex. I think that's fine there. I'm not excited about it, but if there's someone that's going to score a touchdown from Tua, it's going to be Parker. Mike Gesicki, tight end 1 maybe this week. The Jets, I mean, they suck at everything. So if we can get 10 to 12 points out of Gesicki, I think that'd be a pretty good spot there. I have Jakeem Grant here as a wide receiver 3 flex. If you're feeling super risky, he could be, I don't know, like an 8 to 10 point floor guy in PPR leagues. And then I guess if you really need help and we know Myles Gaskin's not going to play, maybe it's Malcolm Perry here who gets the majority of touches. I wanted to pull up my opportunity report from week 11, and we'll just kind of look at how the backfield shook out for Miami. So last weekend, we see Malcolm Perry with 51 snaps compared to Salvon's 43 snaps. So only 5 targets, I guess no carries for Perry. He went 3 for 23. So just because Salvon's not going to play, maybe we do see Perry get some run. Maybe it's Matt Breida, the 50-50 kind of split kind of thing. But he's going to be probably their leading pass-catching running back. So I guess if you need some help at PPR, I mean, he gets 5.3 points here. Probably got an 8 to 10 point floor, I would imagine, in this one. But again, pretty risky. I don't really feel comfortable with anybody in my lineup from this game. So if you can avoid this game, I think I would, besides starting the Dolphins defense, of course. I'm not starting Matt Collins, Matt Breida, Washington. These guys are probably out. Probably not using Denzel Mims. I wish Joe Flacco was in because I would like Perriman and Mims a little bit more. But yeah, man, if you can avoid this game, I think I would for the most part. So we'll go ahead and move on down tier to the Browns and the Jaguars. And this is going to be the last noon game that we talk about. We've been going live for 45 minutes here, so I'm going to cover the Browns and the Jaguars, and then I'll open it up for questions. I'll probably hang out another 15 minutes or so. So if you guys got questions, just hang on tight, and let's cover this Browns-Jaguars game. Here, let me move that real quick. So let's look at the practice reports for Cleveland and see what's going on here. So they got a really lengthy report here. This is not a good list. So it looks like only a safety's been ruled out so far, and this is a big one. Denzel Ward has been ruled out, but I don't really think the Jaguars have the tools to take advantage of this opportunity here. So only 2 guys ruled out. I'm just kind of looking around here. Everyone else was kind of limited or in full, so I think they're in good shape for the most part in terms of fantasy offensive pieces. And then looking at the Jaguars here, DJ Chark ruled out. Chris Conley ruled out. Looks like we got a couple defensive guys not playing here. Another one on IR. Another guard here. The Jaguars are just dinged up, man. So I guess the good news is Laviska Shenault practicing full today. So maybe because Chark and Conley are out, I mean, Laviska is probably going to see a lot of play time. So if you had to use anybody on the Jaguars passing game, Keelan Cole and Laviska Shenault, maybe wide receiver 3 flexes. It's going to be Mike Glennon, though. So, oh, man, I'm really not excited about Mike Glennon. We might just end up seeing James Robinson touch the ball 30 times in this one. So even though it's going to be a tough matchup for the Jaguars offense, I think you continue going to the well with James Robinson. He played Pittsburgh last week, and he still gets us 10 PPR points. So I'm thinking he does not move from our RB2 spot. Mike Glennon, only usable in Superflex leagues in case of emergency. I'd try not to use it, but we'll see what he can do with Keelan Cole and Laviska Shenault. But I'm most confident in James Robinson in this one, and then these guys are just kind of low-end wide receiver 3s in PPR leagues. Not really excited about it, but I guess just looking at the fantasy points allowed quick, you see the Jaguars are just horrible against everything. The Browns, you can take advantage of their secondary. And again, Denzel Ward's going to be out, so you see 39.6 PPR points to the wide receivers. So maybe Keelan Cole and Laviska can take advantage of that. And the Browns are also pretty bad against the tight end, but I'm not going to recommend Tyler Eifert or James O'Shaughnessy or anything like that. So with the Browns, Baker Mayfield, quarterback 2 Superflex leagues, I guess you could whip him out there as a quarterback 1, but I don't really feel comfortable about that. I don't think he scored a touchdown in the last 2 games, and I think they're expecting rain in Jacksonville. So I think it's like the 3rd straight shitty weather game for Cleveland. You're going to continue starting Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, no problem. Austin Hooper, he's a low-end tight end 1. I think he had 6 PPR points last weekend, so just kind of keep rolling out with him. Again, the Jaguars not very good against the tight end. I could see Hooper having a day there. And then Landry's been kind of disappointing lately. He's just a wide receiver 3 flex at this point for me. Go ahead and start the Browns defense in this one for sure. And then, I don't know, can't really recommend anybody else here. So I kind of want to just pull back some of these comments that we got here. So we got a handful of people hanging out here. We got Fabian asking, pick 2 defenses to start. Rams, Ravens, Dolphins, Saints. So I'm interested in the Dolphins because they do play the Jets. The Ravens, I don't think I'm using the Ravens. Steelers are a pretty tough matchup there. And then I do like the Saints going up against Denver. That game's in Denver. And Drew Lock, man, he's thrown a lot of interceptions lately. So I think the Saints are probably the safest play. And then the Rams, they do play against the 49ers, but they got Raheem Mostert coming back. I think Deebo Samuel's going to be coming back, so they're getting a little bit healthier there. So for me, I think it's going to go Saints and then Dolphins, Rams, Ravens. I think that's how I would rank them there. Looks like we got Noah hanging out in the chat room. What's going on, man? So if Eckler doesn't play, would we go Brian Hill, T. Higgins, or Antonio Brown? I'm probably just going to rule T. Higgins out of this equation. I don't trust Brandon Allen. I think Brian Hill could be a safe PPR floor, but I think Antonio Brown actually is probably the guy that I would lean here. The Chiefs do have a good defense. We expect the Chiefs offense to put up a good amount of points, so maybe Tom Brady is just forced to continue throwing the ball a ton. And I don't know. He's been peppering Antonio Brown with a lot of targets. I think Brown probably has the highest floor of all these guys here, and I think I would roll with AB. And is Brian Hill a good flex? Would you play Michael Pittman Jr., Nelson Aguilar, or Crowder full PPR? I do think Brian Hill is a pretty good running back to flex. I'm not really sure what he's done in the past because this is the first game without Todd Gurley. But I guess if we kind of just look and see here, let's just type in our guy Brian Hill. And I'm just curious about what we're going to see out of him. So I'm just kind of looking at what he's done in the past when he's gotten the majority of the touches. So this is 2020. I guess he's gotten 2 games here with double-digit touches. Here, let me filter by PPR points. So Brian Hill, and I guess the 2 games where he's had 9 or more touches, he did score a touchdown against Chicago. This game against Minnesota, he went 10 for 28 and caught a couple balls here, so he had a 5.4 game. And at Carolina, 11 for 55, 2 catches, 9 yards, 8.4. I think this would be a more reasonable floor. We're going to probably see 10 to 12 carries at least, and I would hope for a couple catches. But going back to last year, so in the 2 games where I think he started in these 2 games here at New Orleans and against Carolina, he caught a touchdown. He gets 14.1 points, but 4.8 the other game. It's kind of a dice roll, but I do have a good feeling he's going to get the touches. I don't think you're going to see 15 to 20 total touches, but I could see a game like this where he does get 11 for 55, and then anywhere. I mean, he's pretty safe to catch some passes here. So I do think he has a high floor of maybe 8 to 10 points. It's still kind of risky. I don't really know if we trust the Atlanta offense that much, but I do think Hill can be a pretty solid flex for us, especially if he scores a touchdown. I do like that. So Patrick Sig is, what do you think of our lineup? We got, let's see, Allen M. Jones. Okay, so that's Josh Allen, Mike Davis, Aaron Jones, Keenan Allen, Bob Woods, Travis Kelce, Thomas. Who's Thomas? Who's Thomas going to be there? Sanders and Dolphins defense. Is Sanders the kicker? I guess I'm confused with who Thomas and Sanders are. I can't think. I'm blanking on a Thomas right now. That's Michael Thomas, I'm sure. So you're saying Michael Thomas and is that Miles Sanders in the flex? That would be a studly offensive lineup. If you're starting Mike Davis, Aaron Jones, and then you got Miles Sanders at the flex, I'm feeling pretty good about that. So assuming this is a 2 flex lineup, Michael Thomas and Miles Sanders in the flex, this is a great team, Patrick. That's looking really, really good, man. So we got 6 hanging out. 10-1, week 12, up 87 to 41 with only 3 players scoring yesterday. Not too much to worry about, but we pulled Ridley from flex for Antonio Brown. I don't like Julio hobbled and possible all attention on Ridley. Yeah, we have seen some games where all the attention has been on Calvin Ridley. Let me just let's dive into this a little bit. So let's pull up. I want to see what games Julio Jones has not played in. Where's our boy Julio? So he's only played in 8 games this year. It looks like, what games? That's a lot of stuff there. So he missed week 3, week 5. So he's missed weeks 3 and week 5 so far. So let's pull up Calvin Ridley and see what our boy did in weeks 3 and 5. I think Calvin Ridley might actually be okay. So we're interested in weeks 3 and week 5. So week 3 against Chicago, he goes 5 for 110, and he had 13 targets in that one. So he goes for 16.5. And then week 5, he goes 8 for 136. I don't know, man. I think I might be okay with Calvin Ridley in this one. He's going to be, I mean, he saw 10 targets and 13 targets. He's going to be a target hog again, especially if Julio Jones doesn't play. So I think I think I'm going to play Calvin Ridley just because I think he's got a much higher ceiling. I do like Antonio Brown because he should have a safe PPR floor, but man, I'm going to have a hard time benching Calvin Ridley. I think I'm probably going to roll with Calvin in that one. And it's a pretty decent matchup for Atlanta. I'm not too scared about the matchup there. I can't remember who they play. It's the Raiders. Okay, yeah. So there should be some success for Calvin Ridley against the Raiders, I would hope. So yeah, Michael Thomas and Sanders the kicker. Okay, yeah. So yeah, man, I think back to this team here, we got Josh Allen, Mike Davis, Aaron Jones. That's all pretty solid there. Keenan Allen, Bob Woods, and Travis Kelce. Can't do any better than that at tight end. And then Michael Thomas in the flex, pretty solid. I think Michael Thomas is going to continue to get his targets with Taysom Hill, so not too worried about that quarterback there. And then yeah, Dolphins defense going up against the goddamn Jets. It's got to be a good weekend for the Dolphins. So so Jackie Cow, does Brian Hill beat Gio? Oh man, I think I'm more comfortable with Brian Hill than Giovanni Bernard. Brandon Allen's going to be the quarterback over there. There could be potential for some solid PPR points from Giovanni Bernard, but I don't know if I want to bet on the Bengals. I'm really interested in watching the Bengals offense this weekend because I want to see basically, what are we looking at with this team? Are they going to have energy? Are they going to show that they care with Brandon Allen? I'm nervous about AJ Green, kind of just pulling back and getting an interception because he didn't go all out or something. So I think I'm kind of pulling away from the Bengals. I do think Brian Hill, we've seen some really good stuff out of Brian Hill in small flashes. And if you're telling me he's going to get the ball 12 to 15 times, I think I think I'd rather roll with that. And we have seen that Brian Hill is good for at least 2 to 3 catches per game. And now that Gurley's out of the way, maybe he gets a little bit more. So I think I would rather have Brian Hill going up against the Raiders too. That's a really good matchup. I think I'm going to go with Brian Hill in this one. So I guess I don't have anything else to cover on my start sit charts. Tomorrow, Saturday, 6 o'clock p.m., I'm going to be going over Saints Broncos. Let's see what else we got here. 49ers Rams. We'll cover the America's game of the week, the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. And then we'll get into the Sunday night game, Bears Packers. We'll get into the Monday night game, Seattle versus the Eagles. And then, of course, we'll talk last about the Ravens and the Steelers. I'm really hopeful this game can play. They've essentially pushed it back as far as they can, so this week can still count for week 12. But I do feel pretty good about that game happening. So I'll cover all that tomorrow night. But if you guys got any more questions, I'm willing to hang out here. We're going on about 56 minutes live. I'll hang out for another 4 minutes if you guys got any questions here. So Justin Herbert or Josh Allen? So we were looking at the Chargers practice reports earlier, and they've ruled out Melvin Ingram and Casey Hayward, their best pass rusher and probably their best cornerback. So and this game's in Buffalo. I think I'm leaning with Josh Allen. I know John Brown's going to be out, but Stephon Diggs should, have a really freaky good game. You're probably going to see Gabriel Davis get a lot of snaps as the wide receiver 3, and Cole Beasley should be a pretty good guy in the slot for them. And then there's always the good opportunity that you're going to get a rushing touchdown with Josh Allen, and you get I think I've talked about this a few times, but a rookie quarterback, they're a West Coast team going to play a noon game in Buffalo. I think that could create a little bit of a problem. And I just think everything's kind of showing up for me. Josh Allen's going to be the guy that I mean, they're both really good options because you're probably going to see Buffalo get off to a hot start. I could see Justin Herbert filling the stats up late as the game gets on and maybe they make it close. But I think I'm going to roll with Josh Allen in this one. That team is coming off a bye as well, too. So they should be ready to roll, I think. So let's see. We want to stash Gio to see what happens, but I'll need someone if Mostert goes out. So yeah, I'm really hopeful for Raheem Mostert. We'll talk about him a little bit tomorrow night when we cover the 3 o'clock games. But if you have Raheem Mostert, I think you got to get him in. You don't want to miss any games just because he's kind of just been in and out of our lineups. I think if you have Mostert, you got to find a way to get him in as your running back too. Just out of curiosity, let's just look and see. Let's just take a peek at what the Rams, man. The Rams defense is no joke. We see that they are the 5th best team against the running back and PPR points. Let's just kind of pull up. I want to see who they've been allowing PPR points to. So let's go to the Rams here, and we'll click on PPR. So the best running backs here against the Rams, they did allow Ezekiel Elliott and Miles Sanders to kind of go off for 20-plus points. And then I guess Leonard Fournette, 9.6 last week. Alex Collins, 11.7. Gaskins had a pretty good game, 15.3. David Montgomery, 11.9. And we did see Raheem Mostert. I think this is the game that he got hurt. If I remember correctly, he had a pretty good game against them. Let's see here. I don't remember if he got hurt in this one or not, though. It was the last game that he played. He did go 17 for 65, 2 for 11. So he's got a pretty solid floor here of about 10 points. So I think I'm going to continue to roll out Raheem Mostert for sure. We got another one from Jackie Cow. So Goddard, Fant, or Hooper if Steelers game doesn't happen. I think I'm going to roll with Dallas Goddard in this one. With the Denver Broncos, I'm nervous about them going up against the Saints. Saints have a pretty good defense. They have a lot of momentum right now. They didn't give up a catch to Hayden Hurst last weekend either, so they're actually playing a little bit better against the tight end there. And then with Austin Hooper, man, like Baker threw the ball only 22 times last weekend. He only completed 12 of his passes. I could see Austin Hooper having a nice day, but I think because Monday Night Football, we get Seattle and we get the Eagles. I would expect Seattle's offense to put up some points, which means we're going to see Carson Wentz have to continue to throw and hopefully make that an interesting game at the end. So I think I'm rolling with Goddard. Even if Zach Ertz is back, week one, we saw Goddard blow up, for what was it, 100 yards and a touchdown or something like that. So even though Zach Ertz is probably going to play, he might even be on a snap count. It's his first game back, and they're not really sure if they want to sign him or not. So I think they might kind of ease him back into the lineup. And then Dallas Goedert last weekend, man, he played. Here, I'm going to pull it up. But he ended up playing 100% of the snaps, which caught my eye here. So you see that all 68 offensive plays, Goddard was out there, 6 targets, 5 for 77 and a touchdown. And then even though Richard Rodgers was on the field, like he still kind of got his. So I'm still open to Carson Wentz. We've seen in the past, Goddard and Ertz have shared the field together, and Goddard's still been a pretty good tight end. So he has the highest floor for me. I think 8 to 10 points is pretty doable, where the other guys you're kind of hoping and praying. So I think I'm going to roll with Dallas Goedert in that group of tight ends. And yeah, no problem, Patrick. This is fun. Thanks for all the questions in the chat room, guys. Looks like we're going over an hour here. If you guys got any more questions, I can take maybe 1 or 2 more. Otherwise, I'm going to probably sign off here. But yeah, we had a lot of good people in the comments today. Thanks for hanging out, Fabian. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Harris YT, thanks for hanging out. We had some Goddard questions earlier too. Thanks for hanging out, Z. It's good to see you in the chat room, man. We had Patrick Sig hanging out today. Thanks for hanging out. Let's see, MHP. We're going to be doing our player prop show tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So if you guys are interested in DraftKings or any kind of player betting props, I will be covering some of those, the prop lines that I like tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I just got to text my friend Jesse and see if he's good to go. Otherwise, I'll probably just do that one solo, but we'll be looking at all of the lines for receiving yards, rushing yards, quarterback yards. We'll look at all that stuff tomorrow. And some of that's, even though it's like a player prop show, it really helps to look at it to see what Vegas is thinking, in terms of yards for certain players. We should kind of get a good intel on how our players are going to do this week. So a lot of good stuff happens in that show. I just want to thank Noah for hanging out in the chat room. Stephen Drakes, what's going on, man? Thanks for hanging out. And we had 6 hanging out in the chat room. I'm trying to think of anybody else here. Jackie Kyle, thanks for hanging out, man. But yeah, I think if no other questions in the chat room, I'm going to sign off for this one. If you're new to the Fantasy Fellowship, I do have a link in the description below to check out my start sit charts. You can also look at this opportunity report here from last weekend. I do this every week. I guess I have to upload last night's games into the website, but I try to get all of that information in there for you guys. So check out fantasyfellowship.com, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and maybe we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Have a good rest of your night, and take it easy. Peace.